In reality, thought is the substance of all things. Thought is an impulse of pure energy. It is more subtle than anything in the physical domain. Thought travels far faster than the speed of light. In fact, thought is immediately present everywhere. Hello friends! In this video we're going to be talking about Lesson 4 in the Way of Knowing, and this is the third book of the Christ Mind Trilogy, or the Way of Mastery. These books are by Jayem, or John Mark Cameron, in which he channels Yeshua ben Joseph, or Jesus. The main idea in Lesson 4 is authenticity, but he first goes over the ideas of thought and then fear. And he begins by saying, in this reality, in this experience on earth, we are in bodies, or we think that we're in bodies. And since we think that we are inside these bodies, we think we are separate and that we have private thoughts. But really, there are no such thing as private thoughts. So every thought you have of another, that person immediately knows that thought. And of course, it depends on that person's sensitivity and the work they have done to become sensitive to these subtle thought forms. But regardless, that thought is sent out to them immediately. And if they have not developed the sensitivity, they will think that it's their own thought, and they'll have a feeling of you or a thought of you, since you sent it to them. So you are constantly being bombarded by thoughts from everyone else on the planet. And it's up to you to choose what thoughts to give value to, and thereby make them into agreements, which thereby shape your reality experience. All fields of thought then, in a sense, wash up to the shoreline of your being. You elect what influences will enter into your sphere. Some of those will pass through you, and some you will begin to become identified with. You'll take them on as your thought. You'll form an agreement with the nature of that thought. You will value that thought and therefore create experiences that flow from your agreement, your valuation. For virtually all beings born within the human sphere, one such agreement is, I am just the body, and therefore I am separate from all others. That is merely an agreement, a decision to create experience. You are equally free to say within yourself, I am more than a body. My mind is vast and unlimited. And that is the deeper essence of my identity and my existence. I am in perfect communication with all forms of life at all times. I need only withdraw my attention from my perception of my body to access communication with anyone at any time. He then uses the analogy of radio stations, or an antenna, and how each of us are like antennas, essentially, or radio stations, in which we are receiving all the different stations at the same time. We are constantly receiving input, the subtle energies from everyone else, and we are also sending out our own station. This means that the body itself is constantly receiving input in the form of subtle energy vibration from everything and everyone around it. You are like a giant radio station that is picking up and transmitting signals constantly. And then he shares the importance of deciding to be on that station of love, or to broadcast love, because as we all know, we like being around people that are loving, and we immediately feel in the presence of another if they are upset, if they are depressed, if they're being rude. It's not nice to be around them. It's pretty obvious, pretty common sense. So he says, likewise, choose to broadcast, to send out only loving thoughts. And all of reality will respond to you, and everything will go and flow with you, and everything will become easier, everything will open to you. Therefore, love. When love leads the way, when love is the field of energy that you are abiding within, everywhere you go, you are touching the universe in a way much more subtle than the conscious mind. And that universe will respond to you, because love responds to itself like a flower that opens to sunlight. Think only loving thoughts. Learn to master forgiveness. Dare to follow your heart. Celebrate life. Do what brings you joy. Walk as one confident in the light of Christ. Dare to look out upon the world and say, my Father has set the table before me, and every being and blade of grass is here to support my enjoyment of God. And as you cultivate that kind of discipline, your life will change, as it must, for the universe responds to the vibrational quality that you are emitting from the radio station of your own mind. Therefore, we must teach ourselves to notice any fearful thoughts that pass through us, to notice them and change them into loving thoughts. And he says, if at the end of your day you are exhausted, you're depleted, realize it is no one else's fault but your own, because you have chosen not to transmit, to broadcast love, but that you have withheld it and waited for someone else to uplift you. But in truth, all is coming from you. It is never anyone else's fault. You and you alone are completely responsible for the quality of your experience of each moment. No one is doing anything to you. The world is not an unsafe place, and what you experience in life is the direct result of what flows from the inside out. For there can be no flow from the outside in, except that which you receive and make your own. Is there any point then to be fearful of something? Of course not. There can be no flow from the outside in. It is all coming from in and flowing out. That is very important. Because in this illusion, in this experience, it doesn't seem that way, right? It seems like things are coming from without. But in truth, as is said over and over again in most spiritual texts and within these lessons in the way of mastery, nothing can happen to you that you have not called to yourself. And I'll say that again. Nothing can happen to you that you have not called to yourself. Another way of saying this is that you only experience that which you are the vibration of. You see, the universe is only love, and beings will respond to you according to what you want to call into your being. That's all. Nothing else is even possible. It is quite true that you may be calling a calamity to yourself because you, as a soul, are ready to discover a greater depth of love and forgiveness in yourself. Life might bring you challenges, but only because you've asked it to bring you challenges so that you can grow your capacity to maturely direct love in this world. Nothing can occur that you have not called to yourself. He then begins to talk about fear and says, fear is the means by which you can transcend or become awake, because the higher self, the Holy Spirit, whatever you wish to call it, brings those fears up and into your experience so that you may let them go. It shows you what you need to heal or to let go of. So he says, become aware of your fears. Become aware of them. Ask and be honest with yourself. Indeed, beloved friends, in the way of knowing, there is a certainty of knowing that it is the places in which fear seems to be cropping up that is the actual doorway to greater God consciousness. If there is something that you feel fearful of sharing with another, there is your doorway. Go and share your truth, for no other reason, not to persuade, not to be right, but just to do the sharing so that you get through the ring of fear, that's all. He then moves on to the idea of authenticity, and how letting go of fear allows us to be truly ourselves, to be truly authentic. I do not speak of what is authentic as being what the mind thinks, that is, its social image. That is not authentic at all. That's a mask, a persona. What is authentic is what you feel in the core and the depth of your being, in innocence. And what do I mean by that? The innocent heart is not needy. It doesn't require selected individuals to agree with it. It doesn't wait until the universe nods its head in approval. It merely knows it is innocent and acts from it, and is not attached to the opinions of the world. Authenticity is the core through which Christ's mind grows. And any time you look and see that you've not been living authentically, and decide to take a deep breath and let your illusions be shattered by becoming transparent and telling the truth, and allowing whatever changes that need to occur, then indeed you are growing your Christ mind. He reminds us that we are always creating our tomorrows, and that we are in fact eternal, so that there will always be a tomorrow, so that we must be authentic now, so that we create authentic tomorrows. If we are inauthentic, that's what we'll create for ourselves. Thank you.